it should be joint voting because in the, for example, as the one cited by Kong Boying, in revoking the proclamation of martial law, Sir Justice, it only requires a majority vote.
Mr. Justice, I was reading up on the case of Gonzalez versus Comelec, where it was stated, maybe in obiter, but still stated by the Supreme Court, that when Congress starts discussing and then when Congress starts working on the Constitution, it ceases to be a legislative body. It becomes one that takes up matters of the sovereign. And in doing so, we cease to become members of different houses. That is what Gonzalez versus Comelec said. What would you say? What would be your stand on this case, Mr. Justice?
I do not agree that I agree perhaps in Father Berna's view that the process of proposing amendments to the Constitution may be done in the same way that you propose a bill. No, you pass it like a bill. Propose it in the House, propose it in the Senate, and then approve it, sent to the upper chamber. In other words, you follow the procedure for passing an ordinary legislation, but you need 3/4 vote, according to Father Bernas, both in the Senate and in the House. To say that because the moment you start talking about amending the Constitution, you become a constituent assembly and therefore no longer two chambers, I don't think that's correct, because the one that is given power to amend and revise the Constitution under Article 17 is a two-chamber body, Congress. Congress is defined under Article 6 as a two-chamber body. So simply because you are proposing amendments under Article 17 doesn't mean that Article 6 composition of Congress ceases, because Article 17 must be read in relation with Article 6 when it speaks of Congress. Who is Congress? Who is this body that can propose amendments? You have to go to Article 6, and it says Senate and House.
So the good justice does not believe in the words stated by the ponente in Gonzalez versus Comelec. Is that my reading of the words of the good justice?
Yes, I do not think that's binding. That is probably an obiter dictum, because there has never happened yet a situation where only one chamber and the Senate did not participate as a Senate, and the amendment was sustained.
You may proceed, Deputy Speaker.
Naririnig ba, Mr. Chair?
Naririnig ka, loud and clear. And
Sir Justice, good morning po.
Good morning.
Good morning po. You premise the argument that it should be 3/4 of the Senate and 3/4 of the House simply because Congress is bicameral. That is your claim, sir. But there are activities and there are actions being done by Congress which are not bicameral. For example, the power to initiate all cases of impeachment is exclusively conferred to the House of Representatives. That's not bicameral. The power to try and decide all cases of impeachment is the sole responsibility of the Senate. That is not bicameral. In Section 21, Article 7, Mr. Justice, a treaty or international agreement shall be valid and effective only if concurred in by at least 2/3 of all the members of Senate. Hindi po kami kasama doon. That is not bicameral. So if the argument is because Congress is bicameral in nature, we will always have the vote of 3/4 of Senate and 3/4 of the House. It does not compute, Mr. Justice, with all due respect. My view, which is shared also by several of my co-members, is that it should be joint voting, because even in the, for example, as the one cited by Kong Boying, in revoking the proclamation of martial law, Sir Justice, it only requires a majority vote of all the members of Congress voting jointly. If in that particular position, and the Constitutional Commission at that time was emotional in being able to craft a particular provision relating to martial law, it only required majority vote of all the members. And joint voting was the most convenient way of doing this because ang position po natin doon, kinakailangan madaliin na i-revoke ang martial law. But in this particular case, we're only proposing, as you said, we are not amending the Constitution directly. We're just proposing. And that is not legislation. Doon po sa sinabi ni Kong Boying, that was not obiter dictum, Mr. Justice, with all due respect, because it was also rearticulated in Sanidad versus Comelec as well as in Tolentino versus Comelec. It has been the unanimous statement made in those jurisprudence that when we are entering into this power, Mr. Justice, we are component elements of a constituent assembly, not doing legislation per se. So you should be able to allow us by joint voting. Otherwise po, tama si Kong Boying, kung sakaling hindi po papayag yung Senate, lahat po ng pinagpapaguran namin dito, wala ring mangyayari. And we will never be able to amend the Constitution under the circumstances of three-fourths Senate and House of Representatives.
Thank you, Representative Dante, my good friend. I respect your opinion, sir, but I have the view that Article 17, in saying that in proposing amendments or revisions, Congress needs three-fourths vote of all its members. It speaks of Congress, not of the House or the Senate. When the Constitution says that impeachment shall be done by the House, it doesn't say Congress, it says House. When the Constitution says that the treaties should be ratified by the Senate, it says Senate, it doesn't say House or Senate. It doesn't say Congress, it says Senate. So if Article 17 had wanted the House to be able to propose amendments, it would have said proposed by the Senate, Congress. Instead of saying Congress, it should have said Senate or House, or it should have said the Senate or the House. But it says Congress. And so we have to go back to Article 6. What is Congress? Congress is Senate and House. That
Sir,
is my
under
view,
Section
sir,
4,
and, that is
under
my
Section
view.
4, Article 18, which is a transitory provision or constitution, sabi po dito, all existing treaties or international agreements which have not been ratified shall not be renewed or extended without the concurrence of at least two-thirds of all the members of Senate. Hindi rin po bicameral yun eh. Mr. Justice, ang sinasabi lamang po namin dito, para po magkaroon ng pagkakataon na talaga namang dapat baguhin po yung restrictive provisions. Huwag na sana pong gawin sa mahirap na paraan kung sakasakali po na hindi namin makuha yung three-fourths ng Senate, hindi rin po magkakaroon ng katuparan ano man ang gawin namin dito sa House of Representatives. What we are trying to say here is, hindi naman sa lahat po ng pagkakataon, kagaya po ng mga ipinaliwanag kong provisions, pinapayagan naman kami ang House of Representatives at ang Senate sa kanyang sarili din. Gumagawa rin po kami, but these are also constituent functions eh. Hindi naman po legislation yun. In the same manner that the proposal to amend the Constitution is not a legislative function. It is only one of our constituent functions. So sa tingin po namin, with all due respect po, kailangan po siguro joint voting na lang. At tama po kayo, siguro kung makakuha tayo ng at least majority from the members of the Senate, which I do not doubt we will be able to do, yung joint voting po is the most, I think, more practical and reasonable way to process this particular exercise, Mr. Justice. Then I will now go to my second question. Mr. Justice, hindi po namin kasi masyadong alam kung paano magiging direksyon ng future Congress. Let's say we will leave the phrase as may be provided by law. We will be leaving to the future Congress all the discretion, the wisdom of amending in whatever form as the need arises. Sila na po ang bahala doon. But you will see, Mr. Justice, under Article 2, Section 19 of the State Policies of the Constitution, nakalagay po doon eh. Ang sabi po, the state shall develop a self-reliant and independent national economy effectively controlled by Filipinos. Mr. Justice, in my view, this particular provision is not only categorical, it is fundamental, it is ultimate, and it is even absolute. So, baka po magkakaroon po ng violation the future Congress at maaring kami din, nangangamba rin kami, in the presence of this very restrictive state policy na kayo rin naman po ay kasama yata sa gumawa ng Constitution, it has been a state policy. Until and unless this state policy is relaxed to a certain extent to allow whatever amendments we will do now and in the future, Mr. Justice. Salamat po sa advice po ninyo. Sana matugunan ninyo ang munting katanungan ito.